It's Reality Check with Craig Price.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So it's,
Craig Price is the man.
I knew it. Craig, shut up.
it's Reality Check with Craig Price. This week, Alan Cerny is here for our annual summer movie preview. Welcome to the podcast. Hope you're doing well. With Memorial Weekend upon us, that means that the movie season is in full swing. So, of course, Alan Cerny of ComingSoon.net is here to talk about all the great movies coming out this summer. This is also a good time to remind you that Alan and I have a spin-off podcast called Matinee Heroes, where we look at heroic cinema and take life lessons from them. We look back at a lot of great movies. We preview some new ones when we get a chance, like Alien Covenant that just came out. And we also have some real fun recasting these iconic movies with people from the past or people present. All depends on the movie. It's really fun, and we hope you head over to matineeheroes.com to check it out. But for now, grab some Sour Patch Kids, lean back with that gallon of Diet Coke, and listen to me break down the summer schedule of movies with our favorite film critic, Alan Cerny. Normally we have a podcast on movies a little earlier in the year, but since we've been basically podcasting every day, it feels like, since January.
Yeah, we've been talking movies all of the whole year so far.
At matineeheroes.com. So please, if you haven't heard matineeheroes.com yet, that's our spin-off, which I think is a great podcast for us because it's you going into deep analysis on movies that we love, and me chiming in and trying to stump you with recasts and such. But we've gotten a really good response with it. We've actually got some T-shirts and some great. We got benefactors and patrons.
Did a live broadcast.
We just finished up our first live podcast at Comic Palooza.
Yep.
Which we're recording this beforehand, so I'm assuming it went great.
It went amazing. I can't believe we did it. We pulled it off.
And all the guest stars. It was crazy. So we had a chance to sit down. Alan and I, we just got back from the eye doctors.
Yeah, so basically Craig's going to basically read me the titles. I can read them sort of.
But Alan can't drive, so he's at my house stuck for an hour and a half, and I'm like, let's abuse this time and get a great podcast together.
That's right.
Because I really wanted to do one. Our annual one is always fun for me, but now that we've got the new podcast, it's like I already get my fix. So now there's a chance I could overdose today.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk, it's the entire summer basically from June through early August. Only the movies that we think are worthy.
The big ones. There's a lot of films that come out this summer. But I think we covered everything that's worth talking about.
And the movies we did in May, we covered on our Matinee Heroes podcast. Guardians of the Galaxy, Alien Covenant.
Yeah, all those films have opened already, and we don't need to talk about those. We'll, listen again. If you listen to our podcast, you'll hear mini reviews of some of them.
So here we go. Right off the bat, June 7th, Wonder Woman, something that I finally think that people are excited for because they think DC is going to get a good one.
I believe it's really going to be great. I'm hopefully it's going to be great. I mean, you've got Patty Jenkins directing, you got Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman, and Chris Pine playing Steve Trevor. The trailers look wonderful. They really remind me, and I'm sure this was intentional, they really remind me of Superman the movie.
It's a World War I movie, which we don't get very often.
Yeah, we don't get that often at all. It's got very good scope. It's got a lot of great actors and actresses in it. The action looks wonderful. Gal Gadot looks like she kicks serious ass in this movie, and I'm really excited to see it. I think, you get this whole Marvel DC thing, and actually Marvel kind of left the summer wide open other than Guardians. They opened Guardians early, right? So
and that was a great movie.
Yeah, and then we're going to get Thor in the wintertime. So the summer is pretty much anybody is wide open. Normally Marvel or Star Wars, and Star Wars isn't going to be until next summer. So they normally own the summer, but they don't this year. So it's kind of nice. And, DC hasn't been great out the gate. I mean, I liked Suicide Squad. I didn't love it. Everybody knows what I think of Batman v Superman. But this one, everything I've seen so far looks great.
And I don't think it's, for most people, I don't think it's truly is Marvel versus DC. It is DC just hasn't made a good movie.
Well,
people
Marvel,
go to them. People they make the money, so people are going to them.
Yeah.
It's just that when they go to them, they get mad.
Well, I think that they have a department that's really let's just say, fixated on how they want these stories to be told. And honestly, I think that they're trying to be the darker thing that Marvel's doing, but Wonder Woman doesn't look like that. Wonder Woman looks like it's in the daytime. It looks, the vision of it looks really wonderful.
There was actually some jokes in the trailer.
Yeah. The jokes that are in the other two movies are barely jokes, but I mean, it looks fun and looks enjoyable. And Gal Gadot looks like she's going to kill it as Wonder Woman. I hope they figure out a way to fit Linda Carter in a cameo somewhere. That would be kind of sweet.
Well, they are going to be in her homeland.
Yeah,
and so because you have Robin Wright Penn. Is it Robert Wright now?
Yeah.
She's one of the. She's her mother, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And so they've got some other famous folks at the homeland of Wonder Woman. I wouldn't be surprised if Linda Carter shows up at a cameo in that area.
That would be wonderful.
That would be perfect for where she would fit. If I was going to do a cameo, I would do it when all the women warriors are there, and I would have her maybe in the forefront.
Yeah.
And maybe she has a couple lines, and that's it. But that's where I would use her.
I actually think that DC is underestimating how popular this movie is going to be, because I feel like that turn is happening in pop culture now, where we've been ready for a female-led superhero movie for a while now, and I think. I just have this real big feeling Wonder Woman's going to probably explode. It's going to do crazy business.
And I've been hearing people complain that they didn't market it enough, and I think they're we're waiting for Guardians of the Galaxy to
You only get a little window these days. Every weekend from March on has a big release. We had Fast and Furious in April, and Guardians and Alien and all these other movies.
The Pirates of the Caribbean just came out.
Yeah, they only have a window for our attention. We're Americans. Our attention span is for nothing. So they have to wait. It's like I'm surprised. The Star Wars trailer came out when it did, but I was thinking it would actually come out later.
It was a teaser. They did that purposely because of the celebration. They wanted to make sure that everything was tied together.
Right.
It was a perfect timing event for them. You're right. I was expecting it a lot later. I'm excited for the Christmas because I think we're going to get a Han Solo trailer.
That would be wonderful.
With the Last Jedi movie.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think Wonder Woman's going to explode, and I think people worried about the marketing.
They shouldn't be worried about it at all.
Yeah,
I think it's all on a lot of people's radar. They got to give people a little credit. Wonder Woman's trailer's been playing for about 4 or 5 months now. There's also been all sorts of ancillary things. I mean, the pops are out. We came really close to getting the Funko Pop yesterday for Wonder Woman. We really should have, because I think
I saw the Planet of the Apes Funkos, and those were great. They've got Caesar with a gun, and they've got
for the new one already.
The new one,
really? Okay.
And it'll be ready. I'm sure it'll be coming out in the next month or two. But they already showed the orangutan, Maurice.
Yeah.
And they showed, and we're gonna get those. You got to, because they're awesome.
Yeah.
But Wonder Woman, I think, is gonna do very well. I think it's going to, unfortunately, I think it's going to be a good movie, and it's going to screw up a lot of the plans for, I think DC is like
DC's playing to make crap movies for the rest of the time.
It's a sock, and I think they're a sock in the wind. They're like a bad politician. When people say something, the next movie they pivot. So they basically tried to be Deadpool with Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And I think whatever Wonder Woman does right, I think they're going to ignore, and they're going to focus on the wrong thing.
I hope that's not true. I really do. But because, I mean, obviously next is Justice League, which comes out in this Christmas, right?
I think, so it's definitely coming out either Christmas or Thanksgiving era time.
Yeah.
I think it's coming out Thanksgiving time because Christmas is definitely Star Wars, and they're not going to go up against that.
Yeah. It'll be too late for them to pivot. But it's Zack Snyder. You never know. But I mean, Wonder Woman, out of all of the characters we've seen so far in DC, is the one that everybody's most interested in. She looks the happiest to be there. I guess everybody's so dour, and Martha and everything else.
Yeah, no, she was smirking when she got punched by the at the end of BVS.
She's the best thing in that movie, anyway. Yeah.
And she's only in it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think Chris Pine is going to be the savior of this movie, because I see him in the trailers, and he's the one bringing in the humor. Obviously, Gal Gadot's playing off of that, but I think he's going to be the emotional anchor.
Maybe so, but I really like everything I've seen of Gal Gadot so far, and that character.
This is not to say that she's doing that. I just think that he's going to be the the humanity, because she's a goddess.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to bring it down to earth for us.
Yeah.
He's going to ground the movie.
Yeah, I could see that, but I think that a lot of people are going to really enjoy Wonder Woman, and don't be surprised. I mean, we're going to see a lot of that cosplay later on. So I mean, that's going to be great. I'm excited for it, and Patty Jenkins is a really great director.
What has she done in the past?
She did a movie called Monster with Charlize Theron.
Yep.
And other films. I can't recall them right now.
But didn't she do? Was she the one that did Game of Thrones?
I think she has.
She's the one that does
yeah.
the action for Game of
Yeah,
Thrones.
I believe she has directed some Game of Thrones episodes. And I always wondered, these big franchise movies have always needed women directors to take part. And originally, Wonder Woman was going to be directed by I can't remember her name offhand, but she directed a lot of Breaking Bad episodes.
Oh, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yes,
Yeah.
I can't remember her name either, but
Yeah.
she turned it down for some reason. I think there was.
It was creative
DC,
differences kind of thing.
I think DC, unlike Marvel, I think DC puts a pretty strict.
See, here's how I think it works. At Marvel, they know the movie they want. They want to find the director who is excited to bring them the movie they want. Instead, and the director can say all they want, that hey, this is my own voice, and I believe it because I believe. But I think that Marvel searches for directors who are in sync with the idea what they want. DC looks for name directors who bring their own vision, but sometimes that vision doesn't work necessarily with the established ideas that we have for these characters, especially Zack Snyder and Superman.
I'm just getting sick of Zack Snyder. He should have done a Batman movie because he seems like a darker guy. But
Superman's totally wrong.
Yeah.
They got him totally wrong. Batman isn't even all that way right. Although I like Ben Affleck in that role a lot. But I think that they got the right director with the right actress with the right story with Wonder Woman, and I anticipate I'd be surprised if it turned out badly. So far, I think it's going to be great.
Well, later that week, on June 9th, the infinite Energizer Bunny of acting, Tom Cruise, because he's always gives 100%.
Yep.
We've talked about him in the past. I think he is a truly amazing actor, regardless of what you think of him as a person. I know a lot of people get hung up on the BS of that. I think when he is in a movie, he gives everything he's got. We've seen him hanging off planes. We've seen him do all kinds of weird stunts. The Mummy is rebooted, except this time their goal is to expand it out into all the Universal monster movies together. So it is an interconnected universe because that's the new hot thing.
They're going to bring the Mummy, the Wolfman, I guess the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and if they don't get Guillermo del Toro to be a part of a Creature from the Black Lagoon remake, they're doing it wrong. Because that's like one of his all-time favorite movies. You're going to get Dracula. I don't know if they're going to reboot Dracula again or not.
Yeah, they are. They're going to reboot them all.
So, but this is the first one of the Marvel Cinematic, or not Marvel. The Universal Cinematic Universe, the Universal Monster Cinematic.
Yeah, there's no
Universe.
editing in this particular, and that's not like our regular Matinee Heroes podcast. No editing here.
But there's so many franchises now; it's hard to keep up. But and I think I've gone on record as saying I don't think the trailers for this are all that. I don't know. There's something about it that doesn't appeal to me.
They're Sandy Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, we've already talked about this. How Tom Cruise doesn't seem to display fear very well, and this is a movie that seems to require it.
Yeah,
he shows
concern.
Yeah.
He shows confusion, but he never shows terror or real fear.
And it's interesting to me that they're doing a Universal Monsters movie in present day. That's weird to me. I don't know. If they're going to do a Dracula origin story, are they going to just retell Dracula like they've done so many times before?
Well, they could
Frankenstein, all these monsters are going to come back.
The only one I think that couldn't work in modern times is Frankenstein. I guess it could, but I think Dracula is just opening his coffin a century later instead. All the same things, except it's a century later.
It's Love at First Bite that's not as funny.
Oh, that was an awful movie.
Oh, no, it was not.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it was not.
I didn't like
George
that.
Hamilton, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. When Richard Benjamin brings out the Star of David and he goes, that doesn't work on me.
Yeah.
No, but, all these movies I'm really curious to see how it pays off, but the idea, they got to have... And this casting seems totally bizarre. Is Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man? But I guess he'll love that because he won't be on screen.
Which is good because he's gone weird now.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he'll actually play a human being because he's been acting. His acting, he's in Al Pacino syndrome mode.
Something.
Where he got locked into Jack Sparrow, and ever since then, it's all costume.
Well, he hasn't had the best time of it lately. If you're going to get into the public Amber Heard thing, and I think he's looking for something to bring him back in the public eye, but I think that he has gone the way of Marlon Brando. I've heard rumors that he has an earpiece in his ear when he's working, and people are feeding him his lines, which is terrible because he used to be one of our great actors. And I mean, I think he may be that way again, but he's never going to make a small movie again.
But he has been stuck in the Jack Sparrow crazier. Like his Willy Wonka is awful.
Yeah,
and it's terrifying. And that's not only his fault. That's Tim Burton's fault too.
Yeah, as of this recording, we haven't seen the Pirates movie. It may be really good. We don't know. But I mean, just everything I've seen so far.
The Mordecai fiasco.
Yeah, everything I've seen so far doesn't impress me. But I think the one thing that's going to make these movies interesting, because he's going to be in all of them, is going to be Russell Crowe.
He plays Mr. Hyde or Dr. Jekyll, whichever one is.
Are you sure about that? Because I thought it was Van Helsing that he was playing. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure I was told he was playing Mr. Hyde so he can turn into Dr. Jekyll later on.
Okay.
Or the other way around. He's Dr. Jekyll and he turns into Mr. Hyde later on.
Okay.
Because Van Helsing, it could be, but I don't. I think you think they would go with the Dracula right off the bat then.
Well, I think the Van Helsing is supposed to be, or there's supposed to be a character that's going to tie in all these roles together.
Well, that's going to be Russell Crowe, no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what, it is Russell Crowe that does it, and I think that's going to be great. I'm excited to see what he does, and I think Russell Crowe as an actor is not given his credit. I mean, he's older now, so he's playing different kind of roles. But I mean, obviously, The Nice Guys last year, which killed it. I mean, that movie is wonderful. So I think of all the stuff that's coming together with The Mummy, I think Russell Crowe's character is going to be the most interesting. I'm really curious to see how he pulls it off, and I think he will. That's what I'm looking forward to most in The Mummy.
Well, and that same weekend, because we're going to move on, because I will tell you when I find out if it is Van Helsing or Mr. Hyde.
Okay.
This movie, it's a horror movie. So I'm going to let you speak because this is not something I have. It was on my radar. I just know it's on. I know it's on your radar.
It's on my radar very much.
It comes at night.
It comes at night. Directed
but then
by.
Again, don't we all?
Directed by Trey Schultz, who is a local boy. He's from Houston. He made a film last year called Krisha, which is sort of a kind of a documentary about his grandmother, sort of thing. I haven't seen it. I've heard a lot of great things about it, but it comes at night. It's supposed to be very terrifying. It's a post-apocalyptic movie with Owen Edgerton.
Okay.
And basically, it's about this family. The world has been wiped out by disease, and this family is basically hunkered down and survived. They haven't caught it. And then another family moves next to them, and then things go as they go. And it's supposed to be like a really paranoid kind of thriller, kind of scary. It's scary, but it's done in a way where you're never sure what's going to happen next. It played at a film festival called Outlook Film Fest. Overlook Film Fest, excuse me. It was in Denver, or it's shot. The film festival took place at the hotel that inspired Stephen King's The Shining.
Yeah, it's like the Stanford.
Well, it used to be the Stanley Film Fest, but now it's called the Overlook Film Fest. And it played really, really well. It did. A lot of people loved it, and it was really scary. And it's a little film. It's going to be one of those movies that maybe get lost in all the cacophony of the summer. But it's been released by a studio called A24, and A24 does really, really great independent horror and genre films, like they did last year, where they released The Witch and they released Swiss Army Man, which is still one of my favorite movies.
I got that. Year. It's on my iPad. I downloaded it to watch on a plane, and I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. 'Cause it's free on Amazon Prime.
It's awesome. And A24 is just great to me. They put out really great movies, and so I'm really excited for It Comes at Night. It looks thrilling and looks scary.
Well, Joel Edgerton's a good.
Yeah,
I liked his.
I can't remember if it's Owen or Joel now. I'm sure.
No, it's Joel.
Joel Edgerton. There you go. Okay.
Because it's also I verified it. It is Dr. Henry Jekyll.
Okay.
So, for The Mummy, which
cool.
I thought that's what it was.
Well, then Van Helsing's going to be
before on something else.
But Van Helsing is going to have to show up eventually.
Well, sure, yeah.
So
but you would definitely put him in the. You would put him in the Dracula movie.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to do the Dr. Jekyll, and then 3 or 4 movies down the road, they're going to have a Mr. Hyde movie.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah,
so,
this Russell Crowe going apeshit.
But It Comes at Night. It looked creepy, and A24 does do a lot of great stuff. So I may actually end up going to see that one as well. I don't know yet. I haven't decided, because you know me in horror.
Yeah, you don't do horror very well.
My life is scary enough. I don't need to have outside things. I don't need catharsis to that.
Right.
Well, then we get something a week later for the kids, finally. Because right now, Wonder Woman could be for the kids.
Right.
The Mummy, possibly. It Comes at Night, definitely not. But Cars 3, which looks like they're going back to the original kind of situation where it's about cars racing and having fun and doing. It looks like it's a good movie versus Cars 2, which seemed like a cash grab.
Yeah, I went to Pixar when they was pitching Cars 2, and they pitched it as a spy movie kind of James Bond thing, and it's okay. The Cars films, as Pixar movies go, are the weakest ones, right? I mean, I think everybody kind of agrees on that. But I mean, the kids seem to love Cars more than any of the others. I mean, the marketing is insane. But this one deals with Lightning McQueen, played by Owen Wilson, voiced by Owen Wilson, who is getting up there in age. I mean, he's not like one of
got a little rust on the chassis.
Yeah, he's not like one of these newfangled cars that's come along, with the GPS and everything. He's, I don't how can you have GPS in the Cars world? I don't know, because there are no humans. Cars 3 or Maximum Overdrive 4, whatever you want to call it.
Now, are the satellites in space sentient too?
I have no idea. I don't know. I all I could say this is a question for the ages.
It's like Mystery Science Theater's 3000s theme. If you wonder how they eat and breathe.
Why do they have windows if there are no humans? And all the humans have to be dead. I mean, I think the Cars killed all the humans and
I think
them.
they're all underground and they are enslaved.
Somebody suggested that the Cars movies take place far in the future when GPS on cars became sentient. Or AI on cars,
Skynet,
something, and the cars became sentient and the humans died. But Lightning McQueen, he's up there in age. In Cars terms, he can't move like he used to, so he looks like he crashes really bad in a race and looks like one of the trailers, and so he has to, basically get his groove back. It sounds like it's Rocky 3 in a way, right? It's basically the Rocky 3 story, and so like I said, the Cars films have never been my favorite cup of tea. But I mean, they're all always wonderful to look at, and they're voiced marvelously, even though we do get the Larry the Cable Guy.
Joe Mater.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, that's okay. I don't want to... It's one of those things, the kids have to have something.
Yeah,
and so we're going to go from one genre, one movie, Cars, that hasn't always been up to par, to something that I find repulsive. Transformers, The Last Night on June 21st. I have not stayed awake, and this is something that's unusual. I have not stayed awake for one of these movies. I've only seen 3 of them. I guess there's been, this is like 5?
The 5th one.
Yeah. So I own the first one. I got it on HD DVD because I went the wrong way. I went the Betamax versus VHS and picked the wrong one. And we've watched it twice, and my wife loves it. I have not been able to.
The first Transformers I like.
Even the trailers, it's just unbelievable garbage. You just can't see what the hell's going on.
The first Transformers I like. Every one after that is just awful. And the last one, my review, you can bleep this out if you like.
It's too late. You've already said other stuff.
So in my review, I called it Transformers Fuck You the Movie because it was so bad. It felt like an endurance test. These movies are terrible. I don't have a lot of hope for The Last Night because, look, Michael Bay as a director, he has a particular vision. Some of his movies I dig. I think I'll go to bat for Bad Boys 2. I think it's a wonderfully amoral movie, all right? I love Pain and Gain, and I haven't seen 13 Hours, but I hear a lot of good things about it.
And then The Rock.
The Rock is wonderful. The Rock is great.
Yeah,
and Bad Boys is great. Though, the Transformers films are just bad. I mean, the way the action is shot is incoherent. They have characters screaming. The
there's
camera
too much
is
on
shaking,
the screen,
and there's so much going on. And they're trying to introduce all these characters and all these plot ideas. And I could care less. Couldn't care less. I don't. That's the way you say it. You couldn't care less. It's just terrible. And they got Anthony Hopkins in this one. I don't know who the hell he's playing. And I just hope...
I want to know how much money
I just hope the deck on that house was worth it, or the house really.
I'm sure it was more than a deck.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think they may have paid him Han Solo money.
Yeah, I'm sure it was worth it. It's going to be great. I mean, I don't mind actors getting a payday. That's what they do. They take the paycheck role so they can do the intimate and more interesting stuff later. But like, what's Mark Wahlberg's excuse?
Well, I think he and Michael Bay are buddies, and I think he likes playing because some movies are probably fun to make.
But then, I don't know about this one, man.
No, they're probably fun to make. to watch is a totally different situation. You get to run around.
I hear Michael Bay is fairly authoritarian on his shoots. That he isn't an easy director to work for.
Well, and some actors like that though. I mean, they like to be told where to be, what to do. Blah blah blah, and boom. And maybe him and Mark just get along. It's just one of those things. I don't know.
And Michael Bay seems to get along with our armed forces well enough that they always put stuff in their movie, and we get to see the latest gear.
Yeah, but I think if you want to see Anthony Hopkins and robots, Westworld is where you go.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe that's what turned him on to the Transformers film. I don't know.
It's robots? I think I'll do it it's be like Westworld. And it's like, no, it's complete garbage. So let's go from complete garbage. We've kind of went from...
I mean, it may end up being good.
No, But
I'll put it this way.
You're way too optimistic.
I kind of said I refuse to see it, to review it.
Yeah.
Because there's no point. I mean,
you can only get stabbed in the face so many times.
I'm not going to get suckered in again. I've sat down to every single Transformers movie since the first one, which I do like, and I'm on record as liking. I've sat down to every single one since thinking, it's going to get better. It's going to be better. And man, like, they lost me when you see the giant nutsack in the second Transformers movie.
Who was it?
It was John Turturro pointing up. I can see his sex organs, and it's like these two big wrecking balls. And after that, it's like, oh Jesus!
Was it in the first one that Bumblebee peed oil?
Yeah, but you know what? I got away with that. That was okay in comparison to seeing a Decepticon's nutsack. That's much better. And then he had these really racially insensitive characters, and it's just stupid and silly, and I can't imagine this one being much better. I love how they had a trailer. I know I'm still riffing on a movie I hate, but I love how they had a trailer where it basically accentuated the little girl, which I thought was great. It's like girls kick ass. The whole trailer was about how girls kick ass. And I know that's what that's for. It's total cash grab. It's a total cynical ploy to bring women in to watch these crappy movies. But they're total dude movies, man. I mean, they're total. It's their.
All right.
Transformers: The Last Night. Fuck you two.
Yeah.
2 as in the letter the number 2.
We got it. Let's move on to something better, because this is. I can see that you're starting to foam at the mouth a little bit. To something that truly seems like it's going to be fantastic. To Baby Driver.
Man.
June 28th, Baby Driver. This is Edgar Rice Burroughs. This is Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
Who, the Shaun of the Dead movies, was supposed to do Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And the stuff that they kept from him was pretty good.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim, The World's End, Hot Fuzz. He's just a kinetic director. It looks like this is the movie he's wanted to make since the very beginning. It's basically a car chase / musical. Or the Baby Driver, Baby is the main character who.
It's a musical?
Well, it's sort of. It's a musical in the way American Graffiti is a musical.
Okay, so it's a soundtrack movie.
Yeah, where Baby drives to do all these different heists for Kevin Spacey's character, and he has tinnitus, so he can't hear very well. So he times his driving through the music that he listens to, and. If you've ever listened to an Edgar Wright soundtrack, they're all wonderful. He always picks the best music for his movies. And so the music is all really, like Radar Love is one of the songs, I know that. And the movie is timed to this songs. And you've got a lot of great cast. You got Jamie Foxx and John Hamm and Kevin Spacey, as I've said before. And the kid who plays Baby, I don't remember his name offhand, but he's a new actor. But it looks great. It killed at South by Southwest. It was one of those movies that came out of South by Southwest, and everybody just adored it. Said this is the movie to see. And there's another film in this list that also played South by Southwest. Didn't get as much of a positive reaction, but it got one. But we'll talk about that later. But Baby Driver looks outstanding. I'm really, really keen on seeing it. I love Edgar Wright. I love his movies. It's funny because it was originally going to be released in August, and then South by Southwest happened, and the word of mouth was so positive that they moved it up to June, which I kind of think might be a bad idea because it's sandwiched right between Transformers and Despicable Me, two established franchises.
Yeah, but I think it's a good counter-programming.
Counter-programming is, but it's between two really big established franchises, that billion-dollar franchises, right? I think it's going to get lost. They should have kept it in August, but I'm glad they moved it up so I can see it that much sooner, so I'm okay with that.
I think it'll be okay because I think they'll get a lot of overflow. But I also think that the people going to see Baby Driver are not the same people who go see Transformers last night.
Maybe, but
come on.
Maybe, but I mean,
and they're not going to go to see Despicable. I think it's a different. I think it's a good spot because I don't think there's anything out there right there during that time for people who enjoy movies as a piece of art versus just random franchises with garbage throwing on the screen.
That's true, but there aren't a lot of us.
Well, you got to maximize the amount of them, because I don't know if this has a broad audience appeal immediately. It's one of those, because Shaun of the Dead didn't do well. Was it Hot Fuzz didn't do well. His movies do well in DVDs and
they're fans based, but they don't normally do well in the theater. The interesting thing about Baby Driver is from the gist that I got is that the trailers don't show you anything. It's all, I mean, there's a couple of interesting car chase scenes, but it's really done in a way that you don't see a whole lot. And there's a whole lot of crazy stuff because the stunts are not CGI; they're done live action. Practical
that's
stunts.
Gonna be fun.
So,
maybe the new Hooper.
Yeah, or the new Smokey and the Bandit, or something like that, but or the Bullet, or something like that. And it was very much inspired by Walter Hill's The Driver. So I mean, it's going to be one of those movies I'm really jonesing to see. I'm excited for it.
Well, then we go to a couple days later to June 30th to a franchise that, let's be honest, this is cotton candy. You just go just to chew on it because you want the sugar rush and it's fun. It's definitely not deep. I actually enjoy these movies. I know people get upset because because they are catered way dumbed down. It's Minions. I love. They're just goofy. They make me giggle.
Yeah.
Despicable Me. I think Gru is a great character because I love
I like the first one quite a bit.
Yeah.
I thought the second one wasn't good though.
But this is a movie that you're not going it to learn life lessons. It's really just for a fun hour and a half, occupy the kids. Despicable Me 3 comes out, but this one seems to have a little bit more promise to it.
Well, the reason I think it has more promise to it is that it kind of gets back to the original conceit of the first film, which is that Gru is always meant to be a villain, and he has a new villain that he's competing with, who is voiced by Trey Parker of South Park. Which is really interesting to me because that guy doesn't do a lot of stuff outside of South Park and Book of Mormon and their own projects. And so the fact that they were able to get him for this movie is really interesting to me. But I hope it's not a situation where they had Al Pacino for the last movie and then Al Pacino didn't like it. And they took him out and they brought Benjamin Bratt, I think.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so I don't think, I mean...
he did a great job. Benjamin Bratt did a great job.
Yeah. But I didn't like Despicable Me 2. I thought it was really kind of racially insensitive.
Yeah, I go for the Minions in the background saying goofy things and doing stuff. And that's why it's one of the, as an adult, for me, this is a movie that I'll go 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Because that means it's empty, because I don't want to go opening weekend with all the kids.
Yeah.
And just have fun. It's a great HBO movie when you're just kind of like, especially if you're sick, you just will stay home and watch TV and it's like, the Minions.
Yeah, and I think that the best stuff in the Despicable Me movie, the first one anyway, the best stuff in that movie for me was all the gadgets that Gru came up with, and he basically invented. They didn't invent the Minions, I guess, but
no, because I saw the Minions movie. They came from some Minion land.
Yeah, but all the stuff that and all the kind of the sight gags that they have with the tools that he uses, which is always the fun part. That's what I liked about the first one, and I think I'll like that about this one. But again, Trey Parker in a Despicable Me movie, I never expected that.
Well, now we get to probably one of the most anticipated movies of the year.
Yeah, really.
And actually, we're going to do this back to back. On July 7th, Spider-Man Homecoming. We've been waiting for a Spider-Man movie that's a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Because the Spider-Man movies have been Sony movies, and they haven't been horrible. Some have been pretty good. Spider-Man 2 was
Spider-Man
good.
2 is great.
I thought Andrew Garfield in the reboot was a good Spider-Man.
He's a good Spider-Man.
The movies were kind of goofy.
Yeah, the movies aren't great, but his role is really well done.
But Spider-Man Homecoming reintroduces his first full-length movie, Spider-Man, into basically the Marvel Cinematic movies, the Avengers
That's right.
universe.
I was saying it early in the summer when we were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, we don't have a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, but we do. Yes. And it's easy to forget because Spider-Man isn't done by the Disney, it doesn't directly by Marvel. It's a Sony-Marvel kind of collaboration.
So Sony distributes it.
Yeah.
But they pretty much gave Marvel hey, we obviously been screwing this up.
Yeah,
you do the story.
Yeah, we'll let Marvel do the story. You can, and in return, you get to put that character in whatever you want to put in the Marvel universe, which I'm sure we're going to see him in the Avengers.
I think this was a great deal for Sony.
Yeah,
and you know what? This only happened. This is the best thing that came out of that leak.
Yeah, exactly.
The creative people and the business people don't talk to each other at Sony.
No, they don't, and they don't talk to anybody anywhere.
Yeah,
creative people and marketing people never talk.
I definitely know they don't at Sony because we have proof of that. But
yeah,
the creatives didn't want to because It's all ego. We want to make a Spider-Man movie and it'll be our Spider-Man movie, where the business people were going, the Avengers make billions of dollars. Why would we turn that down?
Yeah.
And this is I think this is a great idea. I like to see more, but obviously the legal gymnastics involved are pretty difficult.
Yeah, the whole story of how this happened was that Marvel filed bankruptcy way early back, and they started selling their properties off.
Yeah, back in the 80s.
And then then they started getting their properties back as they became more financially secure. But they couldn't get Spider-Man back because Spider-Man's the marquee.
And it
he's
makes
the biggest,
money.
And so the fact that they're collaborating now to make this movie happen is wonderful. And I want Spider-Man to stay in the Marvel Cinematic Universe fold. From what I understand, there's only a contract for like 3 of these appearances before it goes out, which would be ridiculous. They shouldn't do that. They should.
After the first one,
it's going to make so much money.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see them re-up. Maybe even almost indefinitely, because the money's just going to be so great for Sony. I don't think they understand. I think they do understand which way they do it, but I don't think they understand how badly they mismanaged the character in the past.
Well, for one thing, we're not getting an origin story, which is great. Woohoo! Thank God for that. And we're getting a kid playing Spider-Man, which has always been the intention for this role. You're going to tell a Spider-Man story, you got to start out when he's young, in high school. Because that's what makes him different. He's a kid trying to navigate a whole bunch of different things and being a superhero at the same time. That's tough. We're going to get a tie-in because Iron Man's in the movie. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr. shows up quite a bit. We get tie-ins to all the other films. Apparently, the gear that the Vulture has, played by Michael Keaton, that gear was salvaged gear from the spaceships that were destroyed in the Avengers films. So it all ties in, but it ties in a really interesting way. We're going to see a teen coming-of-age movie.
I heard it's like there's a John Hughes Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, basically, and that's really great. I'm really excited to that. I want this to work because I think Spider-Man not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a travesty. It's got to be there. He's got to be there. It's like saying you can have a DC movie without Superman. Or Batman even. Yeah, you can't do that. So I think it's gonna be great. I want more Spider-Man movies by themselves. I think his character is too good. It's funny that this sort of feels like the movie, the Little Engine That Could kind of movie. It's kind of sneaking in a weird way. I mean, it's obviously a big film, but I forgot it was coming this summer.
This is that same thing they had the problem with Wonder Woman. They're not going to start promoting this until June. They've released the trailers, and when the trailers have come out, they've been a big deal. Mm-hmm. But they know that they only have that window, so you're not going to see a big push until probably after Wonder Woman.
Right.
And as soon as Wonder Woman comes out, maybe even that weekend, because Guardians of the Galaxy came out, and then what happened that same weekend? Wonder Woman.
Right.
As soon as that was over, they had another. Blade Runner trailer came out that same weekend, or that Monday after Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. They're trying to fit all this marketing in a limited amount of time.
But they're doing
really
it.
hard.
But they're allowing the big blockbusters they know that will overwhelm it. Allow them their minute. Give them the weekend, and then as soon as that weekend's over and everybody's seen the movie, boom, let's get to the next one. So they kind of wait, and everything's compressed now. It's just crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm really excited for it. It's going to be wonderful.
I think this new Tom Holland kid is going to be great.
He looks great. He's funny. He has athletic ability, as we saw in Civil War.
Also, if you follow his Instagram, you'll see him doing his stunts. In fact, before he even got the role, he was showing him doing flips and stuff on trampolines because he was like trying to prove, guys, pick me.
And he's got the spirit of Spider-Man right. I mean, the thing that I always loved about Andrew Garfield is that he was a jokester. With Spider-Man, that's the way he is. We didn't get that with Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire didn't talk a whole lot, when he's in the suit. He talked a little, but I mean...
He's kind of emo Spider-Man.
Yeah, we didn't get a whole lot of jokes out of him, but we got a lot out of Andrew Garfield, which was always fun, and I think that's the same thing that Tom Holland brings to the character, because Spider-Man jokes against his bad guys, makes them so angry that they behave irrationally, and then that's how he beats them. And that's a really integral part of the character. You didn't get that in the Maguire films. But I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be great. It looks wonderful.
Now, the very next week, another huge, massive trilogy ender. This is going to be the wrap-up of the trilogy, and I believe this is Woody Harrelson's last attempt to be in every franchise, because he's... Not only is he in the Hunger Games, he's going to be in the new Han Solo movie, so he's going to join the Star Wars universe. We see him in everything.
That's cool by me.
But
I love
great.
Woody Harrelson.
And The War of the Planet of the Apes wraps up this surprising how great these movies have been.
Yeah, I loved Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
All of them. They've all been great.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is even better. And, well, I won't say better, but it's just as good at least. It's got really great parts to it. And War for the Planet of the Apes really feels like it's going to be that movie that really at the end of it we're basically going to be at the beginning of the original Planet of the Apes kind of.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah, but so a weird way we kind of know how this ends. But
we know we do know how it ends.
Yeah.
The War of the Planet of the Apes is won by
the apes.
Yes, we got that. We knew that back when John Lithgow was still in the movie.
Yeah, but it's so good. I mean, it looks like it's going to be so good. It's. I mean, obviously we get Andy Serkis back as Caesar.
More evolved, so there's more verb. He's going to talk clearer. And
Yeah.
So the first movie, he didn't really say anything till the very last part of the movie. The second movie, they're kind of talking in both sign language and rough English. Nothing too drastic. Mostly a couple phrases here and there.
But this one looks like
They've evolved into full-on voice.
Yeah, they know they can have full-on conversations and they can communicate. And Woody Harrelson looks. I mean, this is interesting because even through these two trailers, which basically set up, look, humans and apes are going to fight. This is going to be the big battle between humans and apes. But we don't know how that exactly came about, unless you're going to cut off the end of the last film, which was there's a ship on the way, and I'm assuming that ship is these guys are what's on board that ship, basically to wipe the apes out, and war is inevitable. It looks great. It looks thrilling. I love how these movies basically say, "Look, humans suck." It establishes it from the very first movie. It's like we're rooting for the apes. We'll always be rooting for the apes. And
well, in this
I'm looking forward to seeing humans' asses get kicked.
Well, in this movie, I think I know one of the storylines is about some gorillas that are basically join the humans.
Really? Because I didn't know that.
Well, if you watch the trailer. There's machine guns going on, and there's gorillas loading up the machine guns. They are working for the humans.
Interesting. See, I didn't get that
because they're that's I'm this is my cup of tea. This is
I know.
I love this. I love these movies.
Yeah,
and so I read some about it, and so that conflict is going to show because there's this in the movies the old movies the gorillas were the aggressive ones, and the orangutans were the educational ones, and the chimps were in the middle.
Right.
And I think they're going to start making those lines.
That's interesting. I hope so. That would be very cool. So I love the original Planet of the Apes movies, but I wouldn't be lying if I said that what Fox has been doing with these movies now is really, really interesting and really good, and how it all fits together at the end is going to be really interesting to watch. These movies are fantastic. They have no right to be as good as they
don't.
are.
That's why I call it a surprise, because that first one, you can tell if I like a movie if I go to it more than 3 times.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing people. Like, we brought a bunch of people to see Planet of the Apes like a couple times because... Here, you've never seen this movie? Oh, we'll go with you. You've never seen this movie? Oh, we'll go with you.
I'm looking forward to gearing up for this one and watching the first 2 movies. I still got them at the house, and I'm looking forward to watching them again.
And I think you may see a Matinee Heroes episode about Planet of the Apes.
That would absolutely should happen. That should happen.
We're going to make sure. I know that we're definitely going to be doing Spider-Man at the week of the release, so I will make sure that the Planet of the Apes is scheduled. I think we may do these either the first, most likely the second one, because I think the second one has more heroes in it.
Well, yeah, but
in the first one, it's again we talk about the survivor versus hero, and I think
that's true.
The first one is a survivor movie. Because of the flu takes out the human, and then the second one they're interacting with humans, and I think there's a lot more heroics going on.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of heroics, we go to the 21st of July. Someone who's been doing comic book movies for a while, and we can't wait to see his new take on things, is Christopher Nolan doing the movie Dunkirk.
Yeah, it's about the Battle of Dunkirk and the 400,000 soldiers that were stuck on a beach, and they were basically rescued by the entire every boat that they could get in the English Channel to pick them
it was
up.
by civilians and the Navy. I mean, they just anybody who had a boat went across the channel to rescue these guys.
Yeah, and this looks like a passion project for Christopher Nolan. I think it looks like a story he's been wanting to tell from the very beginning. And you know what? We get all sorts of patriotic American films all the time, incidents that happen in America. We have movies like Patriots Day and other things that have happened in America. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing a British patriotic film where, and Christopher Nolan is no slouch as a director, obviously. He's one of our greats. And he filmed this on film and 70 millimeter and IMAX. and I hope we get to see it in IMAX. That's because that's.
Oh, it's definitely going to be in IMAX because that's the places I've been seeing it promoted the most.
Yeah.
In fact, they had a 7-minute preview. You know,
See, I didn't see that.
That was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
It was in front of something. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But I do remember that was one of the. I'm like, we got to go to IMAX to see this because they're showing an extended trailer. I think it was 7 minutes total.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic.
We got a huge cast with this. We got Kenneth Branagh. We got Tom Hardy.
It's like the Harry Potter films. If there's a British actor out there, the odds are they're going to be in it. But you got Tom Hardy. So you got a lot of Nolan's best. You got Tom Hardy's in it.
Yep.
Yeah. What's the Killian?
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking
He
about.
plays the Scarecrow in the Batman movies. He's one of the
Cillian
main
Murphy,
Cillian
right.
Murphy. We've got the gentleman from the BFG and he was
Bridge
in
of Spies.
Bridge of Spies.
Yep.
Who won the Oscar? He's in it. Kenneth Branagh's in it. We've got Jarvis from Peggy Carter, and I'm going by all the actors they're by the characters I know.
Oh, cool. That's no problem.
But it's pretty much, if there's so many recognizable British actors in it, it's going to be top-notch quality as far as acting goes.
Yeah, and Nolan has this thing. I mean, he doesn't do a lot of. He does CGI, but he only does it to accentuate the scene. So it looks like there's like real planes flying, real action happening, real people in the water, real ships exploding. It looks intense. I imagine this is going to be one of those movies that's probably going to be we'll be talking about at the end of the year for Oscar stuff. But I'm keen on seeing it. It looks amazing. I want to see it IMAX. Hopefully the IMAX here will be in 70mm film and not in digital. Although I'm okay either way.
I actually kind of prefer the digital because it's brighter.
It is brighter. It depends on the screen you go to.
The one we go to, the Marquee.
They do a good job.
That's what I'm thinking of, because all the other IMAXs I don't think are actually legitimate IMAXs.
Right.
They're like just big screens, but the IMAX at the Marquee and I guess Moody Gardens down in Galveston, our international and national listeners could care less, but those are true IMAX movies.
Right.
So then we go from a gritty, real-life, true story on the same weekend to a massive intergalactic comic book movie it's a comic book that I've never been aware of. I know it's a comic book movie. Mm-hmm. It's Luc Besson, right, from The Fifth Element.
Right.
Back in the sci-fi genre with Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets.
I love this trailer. It's beautiful. It's so bright and colorful, and Dane DeHaan looks like he's having a lot of fun. It looks like a fun movie. I'm on record as not liking The Fifth Element. I did not like it. It feels like a movie that made by a kid who saw Star Wars and took all the wrong things from it.
There are definitely some annoying. I mean, that Chris Tucker does not need to be in that movie.
No, and I don't know if there's anything as annoying like that in Valerian. There might be.
I'm sure there is, because Luc Besson, and when he always puts in one thing that. Just
there might be,
weird.
but I mean, I love the look of it. I love the ray gun that shoots the platforms the kid runs on. It tries to think in a different way and how to think about spacecraft and the colors and the brightness of the aliens, and it looks incredible. I saw a little extended trailer of it during Butnumathon in December. And some of the stuff that they were showing us is pretty impressive. It looks like the creatures were like puppeted creatures.
Animatronics?
Yeah, they don't look CGI. They look like they're really there, which is impressive. I don't know much about the comic book, though.
Yeah, I don't either. But my only concern is the two leads have the same unibrow, and so they look like they're siblings.
Well,
But then there's situations in the trailer that look like they are not siblings.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that they're not. They're not supposed to be.
But they look close enough alike that it's disturbing.
They kind of do, yeah.
So that was my only thing. It's like, are they brother and sister? Because they could easily play brother and sister.
I don't know enough about the comic to know. I'm sure a few
But
people.
it looks amazing. It's one of those things where I want to go see it in IMAX and 3D, because just like Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange, those movies look amazing in 3D.
Yeah, I'm not keen on 3D, even when it's made that way. I have a problem with the dilution of the light, because the glasses are
Garbage.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to when we finally get because in Austin they have the Bob Bullock Theater, which does IMAX with laser projection, which is a lot brighter, and there's no reduction of light when you put the glasses on.
Huh.
And they have a few theaters around the country that are like that. I'm really looking forward to Houston getting one. Hopefully they'll get one really quickly.
I'm just waiting for holographic projections where we don't need to wear glasses.
Yeah, well, it's getting there.
I know. It's just not here fast enough.
Yeah.
So we go to July 28th. Now, we've got two movies. One people have already seen quite a bit of. Mm-hmm. And the other one is you think it's a cash grab, but the more I hear about it, the more it could be the Lego movie of the summer.
You're going to have to take the lead on this one because
I will.
it looks awful to me. The
well-
Emoji movie looks terrible.
Yeah, it's the Emoji movie. And have I seen a trailer for the Emoji movie?
I don't know.
I think I have, but it's like a teaser trailer, which is not very. I think it's like a very short trailer.
Look, this is obviously something that's didn't fly by me. It's not something that looks interesting to me at all. But
Well, it's got a bunch of people. The reason why I heard it is because I was listening to a podcast that had James Corden on it, and James Corden's in this movie. He plays High Five.
the high five emoji.
Yep.
Okay.
Which and apparently he is the overlooked emoji now. So apparently all the favorites live in this great world where it's like behind the velvet rope and it's all VIP. You know, the smiley and the winky face. They are all, but all the other ones kind of live in like this forgotten area. And the concept is this human's got a phone, so they all live in the phone. The phone gets a glitch. And the glitch creates an emoji that has all of the expressions. So
Okay.
it's one emoji that basically is a human being or a person because he can smile, he can do everything. He's not just an emotion. I'm not saying he's a human being, I'm just saying he has everything.
Yeah, because everybody else can only do what they can do. They
Right.
can't do other things.
And so
Like the poop emoji.
by Patrick Stewart was the poop emoji.
That's the one reason why I might see it.
But so there's a glitch that's causing this. So the guy who owns the phone, the human being who owns the phone, is going to go get it fixed. But to get it fixed, they've got to reset the phone.
Okay.
So it's a quest inside the phone, inside the computer, to go fix the glitch before that gets to it has
So
to
it's
be reset.
basically Tron in a phone.
Yeah, it's basically we have to save the emoji's life kind of thing. It might even be more like an inside out situation where remember they all the emotions. So think
Yeah.
of all the emotions, but these are all the emojis.
Well, I'm happy to be wrong. It doesn't look good to
It
me.
does
But I
sound
mean,
stupid.
the Lego movie on paper didn't sound good either, and then that turned out to be incredible.
And I
you
might
know?
be overplaying that one. I just heard that concept. When I heard that, I go, that seems a little bit more than just the regular emoji movie.
We'll see.
So we'll get off that because it's a kids movie that we don't really know anything about. But the second one of the same day has the goddess in it, Charlize Theron, and she is playing basically Jane Wick.
Yeah, because the directors, one of the co-directors of the first John Wick, directed this movie, Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde. So
It's basically a Cold War film. It's a spy film. Played not Fantastic Fest. Played South by Southwest. It had a little more mixed reviews than Baby Driver. Baby Driver was almost universally loved. I know a few people who didn't like Atomic Blonde as much because they felt that the character wasn't. It's a lot of technobabble in a lot of the film. But there is a sequence in the film I hear great things about, which is this hallway action sequence, what they show a snippet of in the trailer. And apparently that sequence is just balls out
that's
amazing.
the hallway stairway.
Yeah, hallway stairway. We've seen it before in basically every Marvel Netflix show. But
it's all about doing it differently, and you can do amazing stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, just the action sequences that we've seen in this trailer are very John Wick. People getting bullets in the head and Jim Kata and whatever they call that, gun kata or whatever. But it looks cool. Charlize Theron looks like she's bringing the action, which is really good considering that she's in. She was in the Fast and Furious, and she didn't really do anything except she didn't even drive a car.
She just kissed Vin Diesel and ordered people around.
And did hack fighting with Ramsey, where basically
She's just smashing a keyboard.
there's a sequence in Fast and Furious 8 because I know those aren't your Steam.
Yeah, no, I will watch them on TV, but I will not pay money for those.
There's a sequence in the movie where basically there's hacking going on. Ramsey's character's hacking, and so. She counter hacks, and basically it's a scene. Basically, they're fighting with keyboards. They're basically pounding on the keyboard. It's ridiculous, but it kind of works for the movie.
But a Fast and Furious movie that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't believe it.
Yeah, I love those movies. I will defend them. But this one looks great. I mean, I don't know how good it's going to be. I've heard mixed.
I
but
think
the
people
action
got-
sequence is supposed to be incredible.
I think people over expectation on this one when people started to say John Wick, Jane Wick.
but it's got pedigree from John Wick.
No, I
It's got-
understand that, but I think
so-
people are thinking it's the same thing, and so when you go in thinking it's going to be a John Wick movie and then it's not, disappointing. You're disappointed. So I think you have to go in with no expectations and see what it's like.
Well, you understand also when they come out of festivals, when people are reviewing movies out of festivals, and they're just excited and happy to be there. A lot of that goes into the review. That's why I'm really thinking Baby Driver is going to be great, but I don't really know for sure because it played in a festival environment where the filmmakers were there and the cast was there, and it could boost it in a way that it doesn't. When anybody just sitting down and paying their $7.25 to sit down to a movie, don't get that. So and Atomic Blonde is similar in that way. Although people I respect, reviewers I respect, said, well, it's okay. So if they say it's okay, I don't know if that means it's terrible. You see in a film festival environment where everything is just kind of boosted up to 12. It's hard to tell. I've felt like that. I've seen movies like that where where I love them at the time, but sat back to them and going, it wasn't quite as good as I thought it was.
You got caught up in the emotion.
It's part of the environment. Some movies, some reviews I'll stand by. I still stand by my 10 out of 10 for The Witch, and I saw that at a festival. But sometimes you could come back and see a movie that wasn't surrounded by all the hoopla, and it's just okay. It's pretty good. And that might be the case with this one.
Well, the last set of movies we're going to talk about, August 4th, which used to be about 4 or 5 years ago, No Man's Land.
Yeah.
Now, thanks to Mission Impossible 5, Guardians of the Galaxy, that first week in August can be quite lucrative for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And it's no longer the wasteland that it used to be. So we've got two movies, one that's a very small movie, and one that's going to be a massive launch of a trilogy.
Maybe. We'll see. The Dark Tower, I'm really keen on seeing it because I'm a fan of Stephen King. I'm a fan of these books. And The Dark Tower, people who aren't familiar with these books, for all the work that Stephen King has done, all the novels that he's written, Salem's Lot, Cujo, It, Pet Sematary, there is...
The Stand.
Yeah, The Stand. All of them have this kind of linear spine to them, and that's basically what The Dark Tower is. The Dark Tower is the saga that brings all of Stephen King's books, novels, and short stories together into this one shared universe. It's done, and you want to talk about cinematic universes. Stephen King had been doing it since his 20s and 30s when he first wrote The Dark Tower, the Gunslinger book. Well, and even then, when you read that book, it doesn't exactly tie in until later.
Right, but he's got little hints, and they're not obvious a lot of the times. They're just little. Usually it's quartet. He'll throw in little words from phrases or maybe a description of somebody.
Yeah, so this is like this meta universe where this huge giant tower exists, and this meta universe touches all these other universes and all of Stephen King's other books. And the Dark Tower is being attacked by who is called the Man in Black, or if you want to know who people consider him, he might be Randall Flagg from The Stand, and he's played by Matthew McConaughey. And the gunslinger, and this is a bit of controversial casting at the time, the gunslinger Roland is played by Idris Elba.
Who looks fantastic.
He looks great. He looks like he kicks ass. That's one shot in the trailer where he flips up the bullets and they just fall into the pistol.
And then he shoots them. And or the one where he like, it's a revolver. He pulls the gun he throws, the bullets are falling, but he pulls the gun towards them and basically loads the gun.
As they're falling.
They're falling. And then click, boom, and he's shooting. It just looks awesome. But it doesn't look like the movie. It doesn't look like the book, though.
No. And the Roland is the last of these gunslingers, which are basically Arthurian knights. Instead of swords, they had 6-shooters. And this world that he lives in is dying or dead. And it doesn't know how it happened. It just did. And he's roaming the countryside trying to get to the Dark Tower to make sure that it doesn't fall. And these books are hard to put in a movie. I'm surprised they made a movie of this because the Dark Tower gets really deep.
It does. It's a long. It's a 7-8 book series.
Yeah, and it gets really into the weeds of Stephen King's books. It's hard. They don't seem at first glance to be very cinematic. They seem very, very novel. They seem very in writing and not something you would see in a movie. And I don't know how well this movie is going to go out because if you know these books very well, for one thing, the idea of the Dark Tower is something that repeats and repeats and repeats. The end of the Dark Tower is basically the beginning of the Gunslinger because Roland's quest never stops because a certain incident in the books continues to happen, and as long as that incident continues to happen, he's in a time loop forever. But what they were suggesting in the marketing campaign of this one is that incident stops. And so what we may be seeing in these films is the last of the time loops of what Roland is doing. And I told you, it gets weird. And I don't know how much the movie can convey that.
If it's a time loop, then it makes sense that they wouldn't have to keep doing it over and over and over again. They just go to the last loop when it's solved.
Yeah, but
just give a hint that this happens over and over again.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually show like with all the iterations that Stephen King does.
Because these books are so complicated and the fan base of these books is incredible, I think there are more Dark Tower fans than any of the other books, which is interesting to me because I'm my favorite Stephen King book is probably It.
which is going to be coming out
Yeah,
soon.
we'll be talking about that one. But the Dark Tower books are a little harder to get into, and I think that's on purpose. You're a real fan if you love the Dark Tower books of Stephen King. So I'm curious to how it works in the movie. I don't know if it will. It took forever for them to put the trailer out, and again, we're talking about this whole marketing thing. But the Dark Tower, we didn't even see like shots from the film. They were held back a lot.
I saw a lot of set shots,
and I got the feeling, and I still get the feeling that the studio, in releasing it in August, I know August isn't necessarily a dumping month anymore, but for them to release it in August, I don't know if that means they have a whole lot of confidence. When Marvel released Guardians of the Galaxy in August, I don't think they had any idea what they had. I think the slot that was open, but it turned out to be incredibly well done, and people loved it, and it really took it to their hearts. But I don't know if Marvel really had the kind of faith in it that they do now.
well, then the next year they had Mission Impossible in that slot.
Yeah, and
it
Mission
made a ton of money.
Yeah, it
And so
depends.
I just think that they've established it's like Deadpool in February. They've proven that you can make money in it. It doesn't matter. You have to have the right movie. You have to have the right fan base. You have to have, but it can be done. And I think once people know it can be done, it's no longer a wasteland.
August is a weird month where I think you'll see studios taking a risk on a little edgier fare. Dark Tower is definitely an edgier kind of movie because the story is obvious. It's different. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to see it. I may have to start picking those books up again and reading them just to get caught up.
I don't know if you can in time. You'd have to start now.
Well, I'm a pretty fast reader, so we'll see. But we'll see how it goes. I think it looks great. I think the casting is great. I don't care what all the white supremacist people say. Idris Elba looks like he brought it.
Stupid.
And it looks great. I'm curious to see how it plays out.
And we end on the same weekend with a movie we've both seen, which is unusual because it doesn't come out till August. We've both seen this. We saw it at your Hullabaloo that you helped program with the Alamo Draft House. And this is called Ingrid Goes West. You liked this movie far more than I did.
I thought it was outstanding.
I thought it was a good movie. I thought the topic was good. I thought it was executed well. I didn't like everybody in it, especially, Aubrey Plaza plays the same mentally unstable, dour person.
Oh, I disagree.
I know disagree. You do, but I've seen her do this all over I didn't see her do anything different. She's better in the Legion television show than she is.
I'm sure she is. I hear a lot of great things about that show. I haven't seen it. I need to watch it. But Ingrid Goes West is basically, I described it in my tweet as it's basically the talented Mr. Ripley for the Instagram age. It's about a girl who kind of fixates on people that she discovers on Instagram, becomes their friend or quote friend unquote, kind of stalks them online, and she can't seem to find that place in the relationship where she doesn't know her boundaries, and so she meets this one girl. Her name is I can't remember her name, but she's played by Elizabeth Olsen. So basically she gets out of the mental institution after macing this one girl at her wedding,
who she doesn't even know.
She doesn't even know her. She just got pity invited and then disinvited. She was a follower on Instagram because I knew who she was when she sprayed her. And then now she's found somebody else to fixate on. So her mother dies. She gets all this money, so she moves to California to basically fixate on her person. And interestingly enough, the person she fixates on, played by Elizabeth Olsen, meets Ingrid, and through some series of kind of manipulations that Ingrid does, they become friends. And then I won't go any more than that because it does get some weird places. But I thought it's an outstanding movie. To me, the movie says a whole lot about social media that I'm not sure that people are ready to hear.
Oh, that's why I thought it was a well-executed movie.
Yeah.
I understood what the point was and the goal was, and I thought that was great. I some of the stuff, you're right, maybe it's because I don't want to hear it, but it's also, I think it's too true, and it's just sad in a lot of places. This is not also, that week, that Hullabaloo was touted as a comedy.
Yeah, well, this was a comedy. It's funny.
This is a dark comedy where I don't
really dark,
but I also don't think a lot of the comedy is as funny as it could have been.
Well, there's a lot of funny bits in it.
There are. It's more like a.
I think O'Shea Jackson Jr., the Batman obsessed.
Yeah, but I think
landlord.
I loved him. There's little tiny things that are funny. I don't think it's a comedy. I think it's a drama with some comedic elements, but not enough to even consider it.
I think it's a pretty dark. I think it's a comedy. I think it's a dark comedy. It doesn't end in a place that maybe people will be satisfied with. But to be frank, social media I think services more to isolation than it does to bringing people together. Because Instagram is really bad about. Instagram is really bad about that. because you're looking at pictures of people happy, smiling,
Yeah, and it's
pictures of their food, pictures of their house, pictures of their cat or their dog. Look how happy I am. And anybody who looks at Instagram who is depressed, it's like you get to hate these people. I mean, they're your friends, and they make you feel bad.
I mean, it's absolutely true, because there is a study showing that does happen. I don't get that, because I actually go, oh, look, cool, my friends are doing some cool stuff. I don't ever feel left out, because I prefer to be home.
I do. I've had that feeling
Do you?
a lot. Yeah, and Instagram, Facebook too, Twitter. Although sometimes you sometimes you get a pithy thing you can say on Twitter and people like it, but
I think you also forget that you get to do all these cool things too.
I don't do as many cool things as I put off. No, I don't.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. You don't think you are, but you're doing Button-a-thon. You're going to Fantastic Fest. You're doing these. See, you even grimace because you know that it's true. You just don't want to admit it.
Well, I've done cool things, but I mean, I'm also not one of those people who takes pictures of every damn thing I do.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
but you do tweet a lot.
Yeah, I do, because I always think of something pithy to say. But
it's like, hey, I'm going to Button-a-thon. We're going to Comic Palooza. I follow you on Instagram. I follow you on Twitter too. I know what you're doing. It's pretty cool. But I don't personally ever feel jealous. I always feel excited for you.
I will look at other people's Instagrams and I look at what they're doing, and I do feel that isolation. And I think this movie speaks to that, how social media in its way can isolate as much as bring together. And Facebook, to me, it's like Facebook is my friends. I have Facebook. I Twitter. I have a lot of people following me. Facebook is really for my closest friends and family and stuff. People I've met in real life.
It's the oasis.
Yeah.
I use it the same way.
And then Instagram is, I don't really know what Instagram is yet. I'm not a big Instagram person.
I just post my pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's an interesting statement about what social media does. And I think people will dig it once they see it. The marketing campaign's a tough sell on this one, because it's going to dark places. It's not an easy subject to talk about. It kind of reminded me of that Black Mirror episode of this season a little bit.
This would have been a better Black Mirror episode than a full movie.
Yeah, but I disagree. I think it's a really strong film. I think it's a lot of really great performances, and it's my favorite Aubrey Plaza performance. O'Shea Jackson, Ice Cube's son. If you saw Straight Outta Compton, him playing Ice Cube in that, he's really good in that. But he's really good in this. I think it's really funny and charming, and it's. I thought it was a great movie. I'm looking forward to seeing how people react to it.
Well, I want to remind everybody as we go that all summer long, we're going to be highlighting a lot of these movies and reviewing these movies on matineeheroes.com. So if you have not signed up for the newsletter at matineeheroes.com yet, go over there. We send out all kinds of, each Saturday morning, a new episode comes out. Mm-hmm. We have discounts and special announcements that we put just in the newsletter. If you're a movie fan, I really want you to go to it. We're not going to do as many movie stuff here. I think we're still do the Oscar stuff, and we'll still do a preview. But
winter stuff, the Christmas.
But we're not going to be doing double-length episodes anymore. We're going to funnel you over to Matinee Heroes, because I think it's a really fun podcast that we're doing. I'm enjoying it because we're doing a lot of movies.
A lot of good movies.
That I forget about. It's not that I forget, it's just I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So matineeheroes.com, Alan over at comingsoon.net, always doing reviews, and I can't wait to talk to you again. It'll be next week, but I can't wait to talk about movies again when Thanksgiving comes around, because Thor Ragnarok looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks great.
That's the show. Thanks to Alan for fulfilling his annual duties. MatineeHeroes.com is where you can hear us each week discuss heroic cinema, so give that a listen. Send any questions, guest suggestions, or comments to Craig at SpeakerCraigPrice.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at RealityCheckPod, and be sure to sign up for the newsletter at RealityCheckPodcast.com. Have a great holiday weekend, and we'll see you next week.